Excuse me, Mr. DJ.
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, it's the Midday Market Report with Jeff Dawson.
ECSI fans, do you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all of your sports books and track all of your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You can also sign up for sportsbooks and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as they're the best account on the platform. Head to the App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire to download the app.
Good afternoon, sports fans from all around the globe. I am your host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is your Wednesday edition of Three Men in a Box with today, Matt Grissom flying solo. Shout out to our other colleague here, Quentin Mills, who is at work as we speak. So happy Thanksgiving to you and your family there. Taking all our Friday shows, moving them up to Wednesday. Obviously, Thursday, Thanksgiving, and Friday, I will be working the last BC home game of the year as they host the Miami Hurricanes. Shout out to our new proud sponsor and partnership with WagerWire. If you have not downloaded the app, please go to Google Play or wherever you download your apps. Download it. It's free. Start tracking those bets. Keeping track of your ROI. I know it's a tough concept. I get it. It's for entertainment for most of you guys. But for some of us, this is a day-to-day grind where, we can make a second stream of income and actually profit. But that's for another show. Shout out to the gentlemen behind the glass, Joseph Shea, Evan Lewis, Cade Horton, Olu, and Bennett. Thank you guys for all that you do. But without further ado, let's bring in the star of this show, Mr. Matt Grissom.
Good afternoon, Jeff.
Good afternoon, Matt. Happy Festivus, I should say, but happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to you, too. Are you a turkey or ham guy?
Oh, I am 1,000,000% a ham guy.
Yeah, I like ham on Christmas and Turkey Day, oddly enough. But anyways, I had to get the important questions out of the way first.
We used to, when I was young, we used to travel up north for about an hour to my grandmother's with all the cousins, aunts, and uncles, about 30 deep. And she would make 2 turkeys for the 30 of us, and she would make a ham just for me. So I felt special, but I could have ham 7 days a week.
I could too. I'm a sides guy. Like, just find me camped out beside the green bean bundles, the mac and cheese. I'm a big mac and cheese connoisseur. Rolls. I'm excited. My mouth's watering just thinking about the food.
100% right with you. There's a small portion for the meats, of course, and especially when there's ham. But, give me the yams, the candy yams, the potatoes, the green bean casserole, the sweet carrot, you name it, I just pile it on.
Same here.
We're coming down to the end of college football. I have to ask you first, the committee kind of setting up what we thought they were trying to do. We haven't had a train wreck yet. And everything's coming to that point where obviously the game that we'll talk about later at Saturday, Michigan and Ohio State will stamp one of those 2 in most likely. But the tragic injury of Jordan Travers from Florida State, the great win by Washington. The whole world was on Oregon State on Saturday. They were 16-1 their last 17 at home. Penix Jr. and company, just in sloppy weather conditions, just found a way. They move them up to the number 4 spot. They drop Florida State to 5. They got a tough game against Florida this week, 6-point favorites, and then most likely will be. Oh, and then we'll be playing Louisville, I should say. Surprised with the move initially, and it looks like Florida State will even if they run the sheet and then we don't get those train wrecks, will be outside looking in, even undefeated.
Yeah, I can't really say that I'm surprised with the move. I mean, you look at Florida State, what they've done this season. I think Washington definitely has the better resume. I was actually discussing this in a large group of college football fans, texting back and forth. And, we saw it early with Ohio State getting granted the number 1 spot when the college football playoff polls first came out. I think they valued the wins over Notre Dame and Penn State more than any other team at that point. Now you've seen Georgia kind of go back in that top spot, and it looks like it's theirs until they lose it. That being said, I think Florida State did deserve to drop. I don't think that it was a result entirely of Jordan Travis's injury. But this Florida State team has kind of been on shaky ground this whole time, and I think they were kind of looking for a reason to drop them. And I wouldn't be surprised if they drop the game to Florida. If not, I do think they lose to Louisville ultimately, but I think Florida could be a live dog this weekend as well. And I know a lot of people are on the Gators.
And I guarantee you one of them is Quentin Mills, who's not here today. If I asked you the popsicle headache and you had Biff's Almanac and you had tomorrow or next week's results and the Tuesday committee, I was going to say, Matt, you're the committee. And you can, right now it's now Georgia -4. It was 3. Now Georgia -4 against Alabama. The look-ahead line, Oregon -6 against Washington. And again, we'll be talking about this next week as well. But if gun to your head right now and you had to pick the Final Four, and that's with Michigan and Ohio State coming up on Saturday, how do you think it falls?
I think the loser of Ohio State, Michigan is going to be out. I think Oregon, if they take care of business this weekend and then win the Pac-12, I think they're going to be in. I think the winner of Ohio State, Michigan's in. I think Georgia is in. And then it's that 4th spot. I mean, how can you not say Texas if they take care of business? I think they are awarded the head-to-head over Alabama, especially if Alabama ends up losing to Georgia, which I think they will. I mean, the committee's kind of got a tough task at hand, but I think here in the last couple of weeks, you've kind of seen which way that they're leaning. Obviously, if Oregon upsets Washington, Washington's going to go out. So as of right now, I'm going to say it's going to be Georgia, Michigan, Oregon, and Texas if they all take care of business.
And I guess the pumpkin pie or the cherry on top here is, and I'll make this the harder question. Let's say Alabama beats Auburn and then does beat Georgia. Are you putting a SEC champion, 1-loss Alabama is obviously going to move up and be in, and then 2-time defending champ, 1 loss in the last 3 years, no title, versus a 1-loss Texas with a Big 12 championship and a win at Tuscaloosa in week 4. So the committee would come down to Texas and Georgia. How do you see them, and how do you put the final stamp in?
I think you'd have to give the nod to Texas. Georgia has not beaten, or lack of a better word, they have not had a very tough schedule. And if they lose the most important game of the season, which will be in that SEC championship game against Alabama, I'm afraid they're going to be out.
And I'm glad you said that, because we know, I go back to 2 years ago, Georgia, Alabama, undefeated Georgia versus a 1-loss Alabama. Alabama had to win to get in. Georgia knew if they lost, they were still getting in. They lost, and then they came back and won the national title. This year, there's no guarantee if they lose. So you think, I'm asking you what you think the committee thinks. We always know the SEC bias. They always find a way to get 2 SEC teams in. And of course, Michigan, if they beat Ohio State, it's fine. They're in. But you can hear the Michigan guys crying, hey, we didn't have our coach. We're a one-loss team. We were up there, blah, blah, blah. But you and I both know they're out. Do you think the committee would actually drop a number one Georgia team all the way to 5 after losing to Alabama?
I think you've just got to look at the landscape in its entirety. Georgia's most impressive win in that scenario would be against Missouri, who's probably going to finish in the top 10 of the college football playoff rankings, assuming they take care of business against Arkansas. They'll be 10-2. That's your best win. Texas's best win would be against Alabama, who would now be in the top 4. So, yeah, I mean, I think Texas would end up jumping Georgia in that scenario.
I can't wait. We got another week to talk about that one. I know we always talk college football here, and we're going to get to your six pack and some of the games that you're looking at here, of course. But before I get to that, there are 3 NFL games. I know I'm throwing you a big curveball. Thanksgiving and NFL, 3 divisional games. Green Bay and is that Detroit? The Commanders travel to Dallas, and then the nightcap of the 49ers to Seattle. Anything in those 3 games that intrigue you?
I'm thinking about laying the points with Dallas. They beat up on weaker teams. That's kind of been their MO all season. Once they face a good team, they don't show up. But when they're playing a sub 500 team, they usually do. So I think, and I know it's going to be super chalky, but I think you could do a money line parlay with Dallas, 49ers, and Detroit. Have a little turkey day parlay around even money. I don't see any of those teams losing. I think the 49ers are the best team in the NFC, hands down. I just took a little bit of them to win the Super Bowl a couple weeks ago when they were on their little 3-game skid. But, yeah, I mean, hats off to the Lions. They've never won the NFC North, and here they're, in the driver's seat for it. They're playing a weak Green Bay team. I don't like Jordan Love. I think Detroit got a really big wake-up call last week against Chicago. They probably should have lost that game, but they were able to pull it off. So I think Detroit comes out ready to play. 7.5, I think, is what the line is. That kind of scares me, but definitely you could tease that down if you wanted to, or just take the money line parlay. But 49ers, Cowboys, Lions, I don't see which one loses that.
Before we get into this week's card, and you got actually a Friday card and a Saturday card, rivalry week, of course.
And Thursday
update.
With the Egg Bowl.
Yes, and the Egg Bowl. So let's talk as we do every week. Arkansas, you talked about their game against Missouri. Missouri's had a great year. Just 2 losses here. Arkansas, obviously, I saw your tweet about your regular season tickets there, but give us the Arkansas update and your thoughts of them this week against Missouri.
I don't think we stand a chance. You've got Eli Drinkwitz, who's actually from Arkansas. He was a high school coach, and he bounced around, I think, Arkansas State. He was there for a little bit. He wants to come in and show Fayetteville that he should have been hired over Chad Morris. I think they take it to us. He tried to say that the Missouri Tigers were going to outsell tickets of Razorback fans and try to stripe out our stadium. So I do think that's funny. He's not afraid to talk. I think if you saw the clip of him running up to Josh Heupel after the Tennessee win, Eli's a little full of himself. A lot of people don't like him in the state of Arkansas, but he does have a good football team this year, and I do think Missouri wins. I saw the line was moving up like crazy. It was 6.5. I grabbed it, took the Tigers, and then I think it's up to 9.5 now in some spots. So, yeah, I think Missouri probably, unfortunately, wins by two touchdowns or more. We've got a lot of people already posting on social media, entering the transfer portal with the news, obviously, of Sam Pittman being retained for another year. I don't know. I definitely don't think we're in a good spot right now as far as the university and the football program. I just think Missouri is going to see the writing on the wall and do everything they want to us.
I'm going to play devil's advocate with you for 1 second before we move
Okay.
on. Early in the year, you did a lot of Arkansas first halves. You did a lot of Arkansas team total first halves. I don't have the numbers in front of me. Any chance, that this is their Super Bowl? This is their big game. In comes Missouri. I know it's not Alabama. I know it's not Georgia, but no one, other than those two, Missouri's the third best team in the SEC. Any chance that you give Arkansas a 30-minute, they raise hell and they play a great 30 minutes?
I think it sounds good. I don't think they show up, though. I mean, how many times have we sat here and said, well, Arkansas is in a good spot to get right here? We had our chance after the 7-3 Mississippi State loss. We should have won that game. Dan Enos gets fired. We go on the road. We upset Florida. We come back home. What do? Lay a complete egg. And I think that's this team's MO. For whatever reason, they can't shake it. I've lost faith in Kenny Gotten to call better plays than what Dan Enos did. So I think ultimately this proved that it wasn't Enos's fault entirely. I just think this offense struggles to find an identity. And if KJ Jefferson keeps being KJ, he's not showing us anything different. And I think defenses are able to tee off on that. They're going to stack the box. They're going to shut down the run. We're out Rocket Sanders. We're out another running back this year or this game. So I don't see us being able to do anything on the offensive line, open up holes. As much as I'd like to say, yeah, take some points with Arkansas in the first half, I just don't see it.
You mentioned the Egg Bowl tomorrow. Any thoughts on the Egg Bowl?
I think Mississippi State probably gets blown out, but I haven't bet it. Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin, I feel like he's the same old Lane. He's going to be a 9-3, 10-2 coach every year. He's going to lose the big games and play a couple games tight that he shouldn't. This may be one that he plays tight. So the 11.5 scared me. My number came to, I think, 9 in favor of Ole Miss. So it was too close for me to bet it, but I would lean Ole Miss.
Good news for an SEC fan, the return of the Ole Miss quarterback announcing last week that he's coming back.
Jackson Dart is coming back. I didn't see that.
I thought I read that he said, yes, he was coming back.
Yeah, I think you're right. I did see something now that I'm thinking about it. Good for Lane, I guess. I know he tried to back up the Brinks truck to get Arch Manning there. I feel like he's probably better off with Jackson Dart. One more season. We'll see what he can do.
Friday slate. Anything hit your six-pack in the Friday slate?
Missouri Tigers, I think, laying the 6.5 all the way up to 9.5. I like Missouri. This UT San Antonio game versus Tulane, I think is going to be a pretty tight, fun game. I do have questions on Jeff Traylor. I know he's one of the candidates for the Texas A&M job. I'm not sure how much his head is in to the Roadrunner program right now. So I lean Tulane, laying the 3.5. But I haven't bet it officially. And then the big one that night, Oregon State. I think this is too many points for Oregon State. We saw them play Washington close last week. I was on the Beavers. They didn't get it done. But Oregon, they didn't cover against USC, and I really thought that they would. I'm not sure what Dan Lanning has in store. This may be a scenario where you want to take care of business, but you don't really care to cover the spread. So I think my numbers came to 11.4 in favor of Oregon. And last time I saw, I think they were getting 14 and a hook. So I like the Beavers a little bit in that one.
Did you, as the season progressed, in August, we gave out Washington to win the Pac-12, Washington to shock the world and to get into the Final Four. And then we got involved in the Heisman Trophy race. We had some early Jaden Daniels, and then, we got on the Bo Nix train, even though I was a huge Penix fan. as Caleb started crashing. We got in on some Bo Nix at like 7-1, a little late to the train. And then the next 2 weekends, in comes the Jaden Daniel trains. And I saw last Saturday night or Sunday at Circa or Superbook, he was actually the favorite now. What is your thoughts before we talk Saturday's card on the Heisman race?
Yeah, that's one of the questions I've got for Derek Stevens. He's going to come on our show this evening. Yeah, Jaden Daniels at Circa is minus 120. Bo Nix is plus 125. I grabbed Bo Nix back in October 14-1. So I've got him, and then I grabbed some Jaden Daniels plus 450, and then again at plus 350. It's not going to shock me if the Heisman voters give a 3-loss Jaden Daniels the Heisman, but I think Bo Nix, I think he deserves it. He's got Oregon playing at such a high level. I think if they come out, they impress against Oregon State this weekend. And listen, Jaden Daniels, he's awesome, but Texas A&M's got a pretty salty defense. I think if they could force some turnovers of Jaden Daniels, I wouldn't be surprised if those flip-flop and Bo Nix becomes the favorite again.
You know, it's funny because it was like 3-4 weeks ago. I noticed the onslaught coming in on Jaden Daniels, and it was when they were going to Alabama, and it was almost like I had flashbacks of a handful of years ago when Georgia opened up against I think it was LSU. No, it wasn't LSU. There was a game that I was talking with Dave Sharapan at the South Point, and I noticed it was a strange move. And this one was the same feeling where it was like the big bag bettors were saying, hey, we're going to take Jaden Daniels and the Heisman, get the 7-1 versus going to play them and taking them to beat Alabama. And that line was low. And so it was almost like they were hedging their bet with the big value on Daniels to win the Heisman. And then they were taking Bama against LSU in the game outright.
Yeah. And Jaden Daniels had a really good game on the ground against Alabama. So even though he had the interception, I do think that Heisman voters are going to look at it in its entirety. And I think at the end of the season, it's going to be a coin flip, Jaden Daniels or Bo Nix. And I think a lot of eyes will be on this weekend. If LSU struggles to score at will against A&M, like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if they flip-flop, assuming Bo Nix has a good game.
Let me ask you, NFL-wise, you're a GM of whoever in the NFL, and you had your choice, Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels. I'll even throw Penix Jr. in there. Who are you taking?
I think Bo Nix can make all the throws. I equate him a lot to like a Justin Herbert, and I know Herbert's not half the best teams around him or coaching staff, I guess. But I think Bo Nix will end up having a better career.
All right. On to Saturday, sir.
Well, let's talk about the big one. Ohio State, Michigan. I talked about it backstage. I've got a lot of liability on Michigan already with them to win the Big Ten, to win the college football playoff. I think Michigan is probably the right side. This is a very small number, though, as far as my power ratings go. I've got Michigan favored by 2, plus the home field advantage, whatever you want to give them, the big house. 21.2 is the projected points. Ohio State, 18.1. So we've got a 3-point spread. That's pretty indicative of what the market's doing. I think it's 3.5 right now. I think I told you if this gets to 4.5 Ohio State, I'll probably have to take some of the Buckeyes. But outside of that, the Notre Dame game, really has Ohio State looked impressive? And they didn't even look impressive against Notre Dame until the last 30 seconds of the game. So I think Michigan they've got fuel in their fire, and this whole situation with Harbaugh, I think, you could look at it, is this a motivator, or is this something that we're going to, tuck our tail and say, oh, poor pitiful us, it's us against the world. I think Michigan just comes out, and I wouldn't be surprised if they just kick them in the teeth and take it to them. But again, on the flip side, Ohio State, they're sneaky, and they're pretty good on defense too. So I think it's going to be low scoring, but I think Michigan does come out ahead.
We were just talking Heisman. What in the rear there is obviously Marvin Harrison Jr., who will be potentially the number 3 pick out of the draft after Caleb and after Drake May. There, generational wide receiver. Some say obviously he's got it in the genes from Pops. Trayvon Williams coming in strong. The quarterback rounding into form. They've almost done it ass backwards, where the offenses come in guns a-blazing and their defense gets better all year. It's kind of the backwards here, Matt, where the defense has been strong all year and the offense has shown flashes. Is there a potential that Williams and Marvin Harrison could be too much for the back end of the Michigan defense?
I think you could make a case, but at the end of the day, I think Michigan's defense and what their will to win right now is, I think they're just going to be a better team all around. I mean, J.J. McCarthy didn't have to throw they ran it like 28 times or something last week or 2 weeks ago. Rutgers gashed Ohio State on the ground. I think Michigan's going to have a lot of success running the ball, which will control the tempo. And I think, similarly to how Georgia beats people, we've talked about it like a boa constrictor. They just slowly wrap themselves around you, and before you know it, you're getting, squeezed to death. And I think that's what Michigan will end up being able to do. Kyle McCord, I haven't been sold on him all season long. Granted, he's got his team at 11-0, but I think Michigan's defense will be able to get him into some situations where he's going to make a turnover or two. Despite how well Marvin Harrison Jr. is, I actually think Malik Neighbors is the better wide receiver. His numbers are better with LSU. I think that's something else we're not really talking about in regards to Jaden Daniels winning the Heisman is you've got a stud wide receiving core at LSU. I mean, that helps a lot. Now Jaden's done a lot on the ground, but to go back to Marvin Harrison Jr., he's a stud, but I think Michigan will be ready for him.
Yeah, and the same, I kind of compare Penix Jr. He kind of looks like Tua, and I draw the comparisons with Tua and Mac Jones here with the 2-8 Patriots. Here is the fact that Mac had all-pro, all-world speedsters to the left and right. Comes to the NFL, he's looking around to a bare cupboard. And the same with Penix Jr. He's got guys to the left and right that will be playing on Sunday as well.
Oh, absolutely. It makes a huge difference when you've got playmakers. But, I mean, at the end of the day, the Heisman's going to be awarded to whoever they think is the best player. And regardless, I don't get a vote. My vote would be on the side of my money, which is Bo Nix.
Any more on Saturday?
This Alabama-Auburn game, I think, Auburn gets embarrassed last weekend where they lose to New Mexico State in Hugh Freeze fashion. I think Alabama probably takes it to Auburn. I didn't lay it, but I think Alabama is just playing really good football right now. They're not going to let this one slip up. And then to round it out, Florida State, you hate what happened to Jordan Travis. I know we talked about Q probably going to be on Florida. I know for a fact he is, and put some on the money line as well. This is a tricky spot for me. I think Florida State still has better athletes up and down that roster. And Florida, they're such a Jekyll and Hyde team. You don't know who's going to show up. I mean, Arkansas beat them at Florida. So you can't really say that Florida State isn't going to be prepared. I think with a full week of practice, that quarterback should be just fine. So I don't know. I started to talk myself into Florida, but I may back off. I think Florida State may end up being able to cover that 6.5. It's a short number.
The scroll has been going the whole time for everyone here to go follow Matt and Quentin. You can go follow Matt at Grissom on X, get all of his work at the NCAA Insiders, and Quentin Mills at Q Millie and Notebook Wager One. But as we always do, I throw it back to you to tell them, obviously, where to find your work and what you got coming on tap real soon.
Yeah, follow me at ncaainsiders.com. We post all of our betting previews, our score projections, all of my bets are on there tracked. We're still plus units on the season, so we hit a little rough patch there, but we got back in the green. One I forgot about, Iowa. I think Iowa wins this game against Nebraska. My number made this 2 in favor of Iowa. I'm not really sure with Nebraska being favored here. Say what you will about Iowa, but they win ball games, and it's not pretty at all. But it's kind of like the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's an anomaly. I just think the Hawkeyes win this game.
The real question is, does it get over 26 or 26.5?
I don't think so. Every chance I get, I bet the alternate unders, and I think they've all cashed for me. It's so much fun. Like, I hate watching it, but I love checking the score and seeing a 3-2 game. It's just, it's great. Reminds me of college baseball.
Well, we can't thank you enough for coming in a couple days early, obviously for the Thanksgiving holiday tomorrow. Go catch you live in about 1 hour. Is that correct?
We're actually going on a little later for Derek's schedule. We're going on at 6 p.m. Eastern.
Well, if you guys don't know who Derek is the proud man in charge of the Mecca on Fremont Street, and that's the Circa, the greatest sports book in the land. If you have not been there, please make sure to bring your swim trunks to get down to the poolside and watch the games, hang out in the cabanas. One of the best guys in the business, Jeffrey Benson, working the book as well. So everyone, go enjoy yourselves here. In about 45 minutes, myself and Ron from Ron A Sports will close out our week here at ECSI, talking some more NCAA and some NFL. But till then, everyone have a great afternoon. From myself at EC Sports Invest and the one and only Matt Grissom at Grissom on X, we wish everyone a great afternoon, and we'll be back real soon.
Thanks, Jeff.